Yeah,
Sir,
nice to
how are you
finally
doing?
put a face to the name, Eugene. Nice to see you.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So, um, I know that you have a few other staff members here or crew members
Yeah,
here.
we've got quite a few people here. We've got Vicky who did the poster. She's a good friend of mine. Jason played my partner, Alex Balder. We have Nico and Jason as well, the other Jason. They gave us that nice little argument. And we've got Noel here who was kind enough to lend his home for shooting the scene. He was also one of the goons. Good support for the film as well.
Ah, fantastic, fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Um, when you actually created Mad Max, I'm sorry, sorry. Uh, yeah,
It's not too far removed.
I
Oh, and
know. I'm
we
so
got my
sorry.
cameraman here. I forgot. We got my cameraman here. This is my
Yeah.
support. My brother, he was the cameraman on it. I trained him just for this movie.
Ah,
So go ahead.
perfect.
I'm sorry, you were
Yeah,
saying.
for Max Payne, Max Payne. How long have you actually been working on this project?
So let's see. In 2019, around November, I wrote the first draft, which was just 5 pages long. It's supposed to be very, very short. Um, that was when I had only played Max Payne 3. And that was by different writers. That was by Hauser from Rockstar Games, and it was a great game. I think that was James McCaffrey's best performance as Max. But during the pandemic, like 2021, I was still kind of working on it a little bit. I knew I wanted it to be a little longer. I wanted it to have more of an impact. Um, but I couldn't really think too much about it, so I ended up playing the first two games in the series and I saw why there were a lot of fans of Sam Lake's work who were saying, well, it's a great game, but it doesn't feel like Max. So I would say, from that time, from 2021 to be perfectly honest with you, 2024, that's when I really stopped writing. We started production in January 2023. The scenes with Olivia, who played Mona, and Won Jung, my shrink. I think everyone needs a shrink these days. Uh, we did that in 2023, and then I rewrote the ending in 24. A lot of things happened. I had to fire two composers. We had to work with everyone's schedule. I actually left my job as a teacher to wrap production.
Oh, all right. Um, but as for everybody coming in and out, especially during COVID, like how was communication?
Well, we started really reaching out to people in 2022 just through backstage. Um, so that was all just messaging and phone calls and whatnot. In January 2023, things had lifted pretty well by then. Things were really good in New York, so we hit the ground running. And especially as this is my first non-student film, it's my first feature film as well. There were a lot of lessons to be learned, and you have no idea what you're going to learn until you actually get on set and then you start. And you kind of temper your expectations first anyway, because it's not like you have a massive budget or anything. And the most risky part of it is that it's a fan film. You can't make a return on it. And at the same time, you also have to stay true to the source. You should put your own style into it. You should put some of your own soul into it. No project is worth anything without your own soul. But you have to know how to toe the line. And that was very important to me. That was why I played all three games and I used to watch them again and again. And to play Max, I actually studied James McCaffrey. I watched a lot of the TV shows he was in and I practiced his voice a lot more. Uh, I really wanted him to see it, and then he died in 2023. So that knocked me out. That was the first celebrity death where I actually got all misty-eyed. So I hope I did justice to him here, and I think we had a really lovely cast that helped us through that as well. I think we were blessed with a great cast. This was professional level acting from everyone involved. I looked at everyone and I said, "Wow, I got to measure up to these guys. They're incredible."
I agree, totally agree. Um, what was this the style you guys actually played with the special effects and the screen pause. Uh, it it gave more of the contemplation. What was this? I guess a foreground to the performance. And if anything, I felt like you guys were able to actually play more with the control of your own voice, and we got to hear more of like everybody's discipline in that. I mean, I can go right ahead actually say like, yeah, your microphone was amazing. Your sound guy must have been like, on peak. But
That was my
I was
dad. Yeah,
just
he was a sound guy.
oh, there you go.
And my mother was a script supervisor. It was the whole family working. I
That's
really couldn't have done it without them. I'm not an easy guy to work with. I'm very picky and they're very patient. So this guy in particular knows right here, Mr. Off Camera right here. He knows.
all right. Um, as you mentioned, the location that you got to use was one of your actors. Was
Yes.
that for all the locations?
No, so we were fortunate enough to for the big final shootout, the one in the basement, we got that in Manhattan. We rented that off of Pier Space from Mrs. Janet Mandel. Really, really great host. We used my place for some of the scenes. Uh, and that's a little annoying because, it's even though it's the whole family, it's mom, dad, brother, and me working on it, everyone's also saying, okay, we need to creep, we need to be very quiet, you know. And then if the neighbor, this is a nice neighborhood, but then, the noise level isn't always so kind. We got a lot of planes, we got dogs in the neighborhood, and I love dogs, but not when I'm filming. I don't want to hear them barking. So
Right.
we had some of that. We were fortunate enough to have one of my dad's friends. He got us access for the scene with Mona Sachs, the basement in the apartment building, and that one was really great. I think that came out lovely. We were able to do a lot with the shadows.
It's beautiful. Yes, I will have to say, like, was this your lighting was just amazing when it came down to the action scenes.
Thank you.
And I have to ask, I was this who was handling choreography? Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
Man of all talents.
unfortunately, Yash is one of the actors here. He couldn't make right now, but he just said, okay, where do you want me, one man army? And it's a lot to take on, but when you've got a crew who's so understanding like them, I mean, we've got a lot of the crew and cast here. Um, it makes things easier. You're able to laugh while you're filming something that's serious. And I have to mention, actually, we had a ex-NYPD actor, John Carlson. He's ex-NYPD. So I actually did like a lot of research before, like with the radio talk and the rules of engagement for an NYPD officer, especially like 1990s narcotics, because that branch shut down. So I was asking
Oh,
him what he remembered because he was a cop at the time. They replaced it with anti-crime. Um, and he said, "Wow, I'm very impressed. You know how to handle a gun really well, and you know a lot about what we would have said." And then we have Nico, who's here. Nico, former sergeant. Well, I can't say former sergeant from the U.S. Army. So it was great. I bounced ideas off the two of them. I brought them in and I said, "I'd like you to help me come up with something. I have an idea. You're going to tell me if it would work in the real world." And of course, we took some liberties with the shootout because if you're going too tactical with everything, it doesn't necessarily fit Max's training. He's a cop. Obviously, he's a great shot. If you freeze it during the dossier, you can see like he received the medal for marksmanship. Um, but you have to also remember, like, okay, I may know this, this, and this, but does the character I'm playing know this? So I kept that in mind and I said, okay, he's very dangerous in a firefight. He's a brawler, so we're not going to have like like martial arts hand-to-hand stuff, right? He's going to be sneaking up on people when he's kidnapped and just trying to keep the choreography grounded in that world because we don't see anything that's like Call of Duty or Ready or Not in the Max Payne world. So I went with a lot of influence from the 1990s films, Lethal Weapon, which I referenced a lot in this, Die Hard. And those were great films. Everybody packed the theater to see these films because the hero's going to have a tough time. Maybe he's an anti-hero or she, but they're going to make it through. They got to fight through all the odds. And that was one of the important things with it. It's like you have to feel that desperation when there's a shootout. I don't want it to look amateur. I don't want it to look like a punch missed or a shot missed or anything. I felt that would break the immersion. So the guys practiced like crazy. We just had 3 days to practice those scenes. and they were phenomenal. John's real world training and Nico's as well came in handy. They were excellent as well. Even the other guys who never really had training before, they were really dedicated. Even Olivia with the little scene with the Desert Eagle gun to my head, she was saying, "Am I holding it right?" I say, "You are. Are you sure?" Yes. And then she accidentally pulled the trigger and fake shot me in the head. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, okay, the gear looks real. So, oh, this
It
were
was.
they okay? All of them.
No, I'm kidding. It wasn't.
It
It
wasn't.
wasn't.
Okay.
No, no. We I had to experiment a little because we in New York City, airsoft is not allowed. In Long Island it is. And I really didn't want to get into any issues with legality. Renting stuff is very expensive. You need like production insurance of like $1 million to go with like the most reputable company. And I've never seen that kind of money in my life. And I don't know anything about that. So uh, what I did was I looked for props that were able to ship to New York, and then we actually got those rifles. I know they looked really good. They were water guns.
There we
They shoot
go.
those little water gels, and my dad and I, we painted them and we touched them up to make them look like they were real. And the handling as well. I went over basic rifle training with some of the guys that didn't know how to, basic handgun training. This is how you're going to move. This is how you're moving with your buddy. You're on point. He's not, that sort of thing. And I think that really lent to it, especially like simulating the recoil as well.
Okay. Okay, so the tactical pants, the belt, and like even the holsters,
Mhm.
those were all airsoft?
I think they were, yeah, yeah. I ordered them
Oh,
for, I
really?
got them from Amazon. I looked for stuff that's okay. Well, these guys are in Max's head, they're mercenaries. And they're in a civilian area. They're just in Manhattan working security. So they're gonna have stuff that if you see them in a building, it's like, okay, I'm not messing with those guys, you know? So I got vests that looked like they were plate carriers, like they could actually have steel plates inside of them. Uh, and the holsters as well. The holsters were a little annoying. We actually use the same two holsters. That's why you never see other people with holsters. When I end up having them on, it's like, okay, suddenly nobody has sidearms. Yeah.
Okay.
We had to save, we had to save on the budget.
Yeah, I know that there was this one scene where um he was taking on like one guy on the floor and another guy in his arm, and you as Max Payne turn around and you look like the pipe hit your head when you fell on the floor. Like, was
Oh,
that
was that when John he sort of staggers back and then I kind of slum against the
I believe so. I just was wondering, like, did you ever get injured during this choreography?
did I get in Phil, did I get injured? Besides mentally, I don't know. No, it was very minor. I'm ashamed to say like Max, I did let myself go a little bit. I had a martial arts injury and I didn't rehab it properly. But thankfully, nothing major, just a few very, very minor bumps and bruises. Like it was important that the guys, like I would rehearse their falls many times with them. I taught them how, we were trained to fall in MMA. And I
Yeah,
said, okay, I know the guns are important. Don't break them. They're plastic, but I'd much rather get a chip on the gun than you get a concussion. So, so we went over the break falls a lot. And as you can see, they were in all the dudes were in great shape. They were able to fall really well. We went over like, if you're getting shot in the head, all systems shut down. Head slums and the body follows like that.
good. That's good. Um, Camera. What cameras did you guys actually use for this one?
We used a Panasonic GH4, came out in 2014. We actually just used two lenses. I always work with single camera setups. I like Roger Deakins, the DP for Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, a lot of beautiful films. Um, I like to work with a single camera because I get control. Usually I'm the cameraman in the movies. This time I trained my brother to help me. And, as you can see, I think he did a phenomenal job. We used two lenses. We used a zoom 18 to 35 millimeter. And then for the rest of the film, particularly in the scene with Jason Hansen, that really nice scene. You can tell he's got great eyes, that guy, nice blue eyes, and you can see that really nicely in the 25 millimeter prime lens that we used. And the prime gives phenomenal image output. It's not so good with focus on the fly, like if you're tracking moving people. So we learned to work with that. We used the zoom for a lot of the movement shots and the prime for, like stationary stuff where you're just panning left and right, because that gave a really lovely shot for, when we're focusing on the dialogue.
Fantastic. Did you guys have any issues with the lighting? Because I know that you guys, okay, the first scene where you actually appear between the three guys, the lighting was like bright, like as all heck. But by the time you guys actually started to get into all the shooting, obviously it all just went dark. And I was this, did you guys have any issues with trying to coordinate that? Oh, is this between scenes? Because I know like a lot of director of photography have like terrible like scrutiny over those.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you have to learn when to sacrifice and say, okay, we don't have time. We got one day. We don't have control over these lights. Now, are you referring to the big shootout at the end or the one in the
Ye-
beginning?
the one in the beginning, the one
Okay,
in the
so
beginning.
it was bright at first. That was also, that was the location as it was. Like we had no dim controls over those. It's either on or off.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that kind of fit anyway because that's sort of this depiction of like Max is going through a realization like there's something's not right about this. I can't be kidnapped. When the lights
Yeah,
go off, it's like he's now falling victim back into that nightmare, into the cold turkey hallucinations.
yeah,
With that, we killed all the lights in the basement, and we had two other lights. We had an LED light, which was red. That was supposed to be like an emergency light, which was really just more of like kind of the hellish light, and a husky work light that was really incredibly bright. We had to position that and bounce that off of a wall so that we wouldn't get extreme, like extreme harsh light on the faces. But that scene was interesting because we also used the flashlights on the rifles to
yes.
light those as well. And there's one scene in particular I like when Jason and Nico, when they hear their two guys get shot in the back and they turn, and then you see a spotlight right on them. I took that as sort of like, oh, that's similar to the old noir films when you've got the spotlight, bam, right on the criminal, and Batman's
Yeah.
about to go take them down.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that was wonderful. Um, okay, okay. Well, I was just are you guys actually screening this anywhere else?
Right now, we've heard some good news from one festival. They're going to let us know if we make finalists. They got quarterfinalists, and then winner in March. We've got another one as well, and I'm hoping to hear some good news from each of them. I think that it would really show how everyone's work paid off in this. This was really, I think, not just a tremendous lesson, but I think it was a really awesome project for everyone to really grow as performers. That's important with me. It's like when you watch the film, I want the audience to feel like I can learn something from this character, the suffering and the trials that this character is going through. It doesn't matter who it is because, as human beings, we all have empathy. But for the
Yeah,
cast and crew as well, I do want more festivals, more people to see them because they put their heart and soul into this performance. Everybody really did. And I think they all learned something really good about themselves. I mean, even Jason, my friend, he had never Jason Ruan, not Anson. There are two Jasons here, I know. He had never acted a day in his life, and you look at him there, and you think, "Wow, we honestly thought you've been acting for a while." He still doesn't believe me when I tell him. But yeah, I'd like it to be screened at other festivals. I think we have a good shot in others as well. We put a lot of heart and soul into it. And I'd love it for Sam Lake. I'd love for Sam Lake to see it. James McCaffrey is gone. That's fine, but I want him to see just how much his series influenced me, and we were able to create something really beautiful here. And I'm really glad a lot of people enjoyed it.
well, thank you. Thank you so much for being part of FanFilm Awards this year. Um, Feel free to add in any of your links, let everybody actually connect. And if you have any further comments, I would love to hear some.
Mm. For me, I don't know if anybody else has any. We have a few people here. Um,